Welcome to this video where we will be providing a detailed demonstration of our high-quality electric nail file drill expert. The way you turn on your electric nail file is by pressing this button called on-off. On this button, you can change the direction of rotation of your drill bit, that is, which way your drill bit spins. On F, which stands for forward, it clearly moves in the forward direction without any deviation. On the one named N, which is an abbreviation for neutral, it is in a neutral state, indicating that it does not move. On R, which stands for reverse, it runs backwards. You can actually control the direction of rotation with this button. The way you change the speed at which your bit rotates, it's on this button. It is possible to have the setting all the way down on low, and then it is possible to adjust it all the way up to high levels of intensity. The electric nail file has 5 holes, and you can use them to put jokes, adding a fun element to your nail care routine. I can just show it real quick. That you have the flexibility to put as many bits as you want in, making it easier to take them on and off when you use your file. This here is the handle of the L file. That is evidently the tool you utilize when you are filing important documents. When you get your electric nail file home, you can plug it in here on the side. To take out the bit, rotate it towards R, which represents release, in order to open your bit using the specified method of operation. The other one is called S and stands for save, and that's the one you use when you lock and close it again. To remove the screw, turn it towards R with slight force until it clicks, and it should come out completely in a single click. It's like it's giving 2 little pats actually. So you can take your bit out and make sure to take a fresh, proper bite in. This is a mandrel bit, which is commonly used for sanding rollers in various applications. I lock this mandrel bit in place by pulling it back to the max. It's locked now, and now I can put on a sanding roller if, for example, it's the piece I want in. You can always put your pound piece up here and rest while you're not using your file. The next thing I want to talk about is rotations. More specifically, when to use which revolutions. Well, when you make use of low and high, it is important to consider the optimal rotational speed for one's bit during operation. The speed of your internet connection when you utilize it, well, that is a matter of personal preference. However, there exist a few fairly fundamental rules of thumb that are genuinely excellent. Generally, if you want to buy less, aim for lower revolutions to get a smaller quantity of the product. So if you, for example, just want to fine-tune, that is, make slight adjustments, then you would like to have it down around the low revolutions. And if you want a lot of product, for example, when you're using it, and especially if you're using a strong reinforcing product like polygel or builder gel, then you want to turn it up a bit higher. Most importantly to know is that when you work closely to the natural nail or on the natural nail, for example, with a cuticle tip, it should always be at low revolutions per minute, because it is important to always take care of your own natural nail by only using low revolutions per minute. The speed at which your bit should run also depends on the type of bit you have and the specific requirements of your project. When utilizing sanding rollers, it is generally possible to achieve satisfactory results with lower revolutions per minute. On the other hand, if you use ceramic or bits made of another material, it sometimes requires a bit more speed before the bit actually has a proper effect and doesn't just bounce on top of the nail. The next thing I am going to talk about is how you hold onto the handle of your electric nail file to have the most control. It is not without significance the way you hold it, you know. If you hold it out here at the end and simply hold it a little loosely, then you do not have much control over what is going on. So therefore, we always suggest that you hold it a bit like a pencil, just as you would write with it. And actually use one of your other fingers to support with. So for example, if I want to file, remove a product on this thumb, then I'll hold my electric nail file like a pencil and use my pinky to support the nail. so I can actually move my electric nail file around and have good control and support on how and where and how much I file. We are frequently asked about determining when you have reached the natural nail and should discontinue the use of the electric nail file and transition to a manual nail file, for instance. If you remove it, you can proceed to the acetone. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky to determine the distance from the natural nail, but a good tip is to utilize cleaner and a lint-free wipe. Just to clean the nail, because the nail will become visible, the actual nail will start to appear, and it will look slightly more matte than your product will be once applied. So if you're unsure how far you got when using the electric nail file, just grab a wipe and cleaner to double check and see how far you've come. Of course, it's important that you never ever hit your natural nail with your electric nail file, unless of course it's a bit that's meant for it, like for example a piece of cuticle. We also frequently receive inquiries regarding how to determine the direction in which this bit should turn, whether it should turn forward or reverse, front or back. So when you activate your bit and position it on your nail, if it instinctively tends to slide towards you, then you should perform the opposite action to what the electric nail file naturally wants in order to maintain control and prevent accidents. So when you have it turned on and it's like trying to jump towards you, you should say that I will do the opposite of what the electric nail file wants, and thus try to move the bit away from you. So the best advice is actually to keep an eye out if you're unsure about which direction to take. It's doing the opposite of its natural inclination to achieve the most efficient filing. It's a common question about how to make sure you don't breathe in all this sawdust, which mostly comes from an electric sander, and how to also make sure it doesn't get into the living room and onto the furniture. The best answer is actually a dust connector. Our dust collector is absolutely fantastic. It has an extremely high suction power, and you can easily have a conversation next to it. Well, it's a vacuum cleaner, it's supposed to suck up dust, so you should be able to hear that it's working. But this here is actually one of the most quiet ones, at least in our opinion, you can find. It's also possible to clean it, both by changing the filter, but also just by emptying the filter after use. And it's also possible to rotate back and forth depending on your strength.